We're here this morning to provide our collective response to the education funding aspects of the two versions of the state budget issued yesterday by the General Assembly's many committees. Our coalition is comprised of a dozen organizations that represent a broad expanse of folks engaged in and supportive of providing a quality public education to Virginia students. The member organizations include the Virginia Associations of Colleges for Teacher Education, elementary school principals, Virginia school superintendents, secondary school principals, as well as the Congress of Parents and Teachers, the Virginia Counselors Association, Virginia Education Association, Virginia Middle School Association, the Virginia Professors of Educational Leadership, Virginia School Boards Association, the Virginia School Councils Association, and the Virginia Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. In addition, our coalition receives a great deal of support from the Commonwealth Institution for Fiscal Analysis and the Alliance for Virginia Students, and representatives of both of those organizations are here this morning. I now introduce Kathy Bircher, a mother of public school students in Henrico County. Ms. Bircher also is chairperson of the Virginia PTA Capital Committee, as well as legislative chair for the Henrico County Council of PTAs.
Not our coalition's purpose or intent to choose sides between the House, the Senate, or the governor. Instead, we're reacting to our review of the separate spending plans based on the following 4 criteria. Number 1, are the cuts in education temporary in nature, and will they harm public schools for the long term after the recession is over? Number 2, are programs for at-risk students protected? 3, are recommendations for tax policies reasonable? And 4, what are the differences in per pupil spending in the 2 budgets? Our first evaluation question for the budget proposals is, are the cuts in education funding temporary in nature, or will they harm public schools well after the recession is over? The House budget includes permanent cuts by accepting the support staff ratio proposed by the governor. Future budgets would be built off of this reduced base. The manner in which the Senate reduces K-12 funding is not permanent and does not change the funding formula for future years. The Senate preserves long-standing funding methodology for K-12 education in Virginia. Number 2, our question is, are the programs for at-risk students protected? The House proposal jeopardizes programs for at-risk students by allowing localities to reduce their local funding. By maintaining the required local effort, the Senate version protects these crucial programs for at-risk students. Examples of these programs include the pre-kindergarten program, K-3 classroom reduction, and that is about reducing class size in K-3, and the early reading initiative. Our third question is, what is the differences in per pupil spending in the 2 budgets for 2009-10 compared to the governor's budget? The House proposal provides $4,908 in per pupil support, compared to $4,881 provided by the Senate. Both of these are lower than the governor's proposed $4,921 in per pupil state support. The total K-12 spending proposal by the House is nearly $16 million lower than that proposed by the governor, while the Senate proposal is nearly $48 million lower than the governor's proposal. The Senate amount does reflect reduced or deferred textbook funding. And our final question, are recommendations for tax policies reasonable? And do the tax decisions provide needed reforms that bring in new revenue during this challenging fiscal time? The House is commended for capping the dealer discount for collecting sales tax and for reforming the sales tax payment schedule for large retailers. These 2 actions bring an estimated $112 million in combined new revenue. The Senate did not follow suit. It did include an accelerated sales tax schedule that includes a one-time shift in tax revenue to enhance the budget, but without providing an ongoing revenue increase. Regrettably, the cigarette tax increase and restructuring of the estate tax have been rejected by both houses, foregoing $155 million in revenue from the cigarette tax and $102 million from the restructuring of the estate tax. The House could have enhanced spending by $257 million, and the Senate could have added $369 million if they had made different taxing decisions. Beyond the analysis, it's important to note that the House has included a tuition voucher measure in the budget that has been repeatedly rejected by both sides of the Assembly, and it will take funds away from public schools. The Virginia Education Coalition stands united in opposition to any proposal, tuition vouchers or tax credits, that will divert funds from our schools. The House, through a backdoor process, has included a voucher bill in the budget without allowing that proposal to stand or fall on its own merit. When teachers and staff are being laid off and education for our children are being slashed, it is no time to create new entitlement programs for private schools. Today, as we offer this analysis based upon the budget policy decisions proposed by the governor and both sides of the General Assembly, we deeply appreciate the approach taken by the Senate, taking the long view with the full intention of restoring the cuts when the recession is over. Their refusal to alter existing funding methodology to the long-term detriment of K through 12 education is greatly appreciated. However, make no mistake, these cuts will have a devastating impact on our public schools and the children they serve. Teachers will be laid off. Programs will be eliminated. Class size will increase, and schools will be less safe than they are today. In our collective memories, we do not recall cuts to K through 12 education of this magnitude. A few of us, not me, remember the cuts from the Godwin and Wilder administration. I remember Wilder. When, like today, we faced a recession, but never have we seen cuts to K through 12 as these proposals represent. And we also know when the updated revenue projections come out on the 16th, these cuts will deepen. Before we entered this recession, Virginia ranked, sadly, 37th in the nation in per pupil state funding, down from 32nd just last year. And we rank only 30th in teacher salaries, while Virginia is the 10th wealthiest state in the nation. Virginians must face up to the fact that our tax structure is inadequate to support core state services, and Virginians must decide if in the years ahead we will disinvest in the education of our future generations.